So you got laid off and you're trying to figure out what to do next. I'm Greg. I'm the Introverted Networker. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about something that's very painful for most people. It's probably one of the most traumatic things that you can go through in your life, other than death of somebody who's very close to you. And that is being laid off from your job. And I have been laid off twice in my career. Most people I know have been laid off at some point in their career. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what to do from a networking perspective. There's a ton of other things that you can do from a resume, LinkedIn profile, interview prep perspective. And for those sort of things, I would encourage you to seek out some of the people who you'll find commenting on my posts, on my LinkedIn posts every day, because every day I post on LinkedIn and I usually post about networking, and a lot of people who comment are people who do resumes, interview prep, cover letters. They'll help you with your career strategy. Just look at the people who comment on my posts. And those are some pretty good people. I know them. They all do a great job. They're very consistent. They're reputable. They show up all the time on LinkedIn. Talk to many of them in person. So if you're thinking about stuff like that, I would go, look at some of those people, check out their profiles, check out what they do, and definitely get help from them. But as it relates to networking, I'm going to talk a little bit about all the things that I would recommend you do if you get laid off. Now, number one, the first thing I want you to do is take a breath. As I said, I've been laid off twice, and I know the first time totally what came out of left field. I was not expecting it. So I spent a lot of time dealing with this idea of being let go, being laid off. And you think, I'm no good, I'm not worth it, people don't like me, nobody wants to work with me. And those are all natural feelings to go through. So I would encourage you to process those feelings in whatever way you need to do that. Maybe you need to talk to friends, maybe you need to talk to family, maybe you need to talk to a professional therapist. If you need help, I would recommend you go get that help that you need. And I would say start to understand it's completely normal to feel these things and go through these things. It doesn't make it any easier. So what I'm going to tell you is not going to make you feel a lot better. But what I am going to tell you is something that I've found is helpful is a lot of times whenever I'm feeling anxious about anything, taking action makes me feel less anxious. So doing something that moves me towards where I want to be makes me feel a lot better about it. It may not solve every problem. It may not get me the whole way there, but doing something will help me get there. So as it comes to layoffs, right? When you get laid off and when you've processed and when you're ready to get out there and start networking, the first piece of advice I always give people is, who are the first 5 people you want to tell? Immediate family excluded. I mean, you're going to talk to your immediate family. They're going to know you got laid off. Beyond that, who are the first 5 people you would tell? Now, these can be former coworkers, friends, former bosses, partners you've worked with. Maybe those were vendors or other customers. People who you feel like you have a strong enough relationship with to say, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm looking for a job. So figure out who those first 5 people are. You should be able to come up with 5 people who throughout your career you've met and you feel like you would be comfortable reaching out to them and saying, hey, just wanted to let you know I'm looking for my next role. My last day with my old company is this day, and now I'm looking for something new. And I would just encourage you to kind of be open to that and not really think, oh, these people are going to judge me. They're going to look down on me because I got laid off. Listen, I just told you most people get laid off. Most people who have been through this. There is no sort of stigma that your friends are going to attach to you being laid off. And by the way, if there is somebody who says, oh, well, you got laid off, I don't want to talk to you, they shouldn't even be in your network to begin with. So if this surfaces that and there's people that really aren't there for you, okay, fine, just don't talk to them and move on to people who are going to be helpful. Because most people I've met, most people I know, most people I talk to really want to help people when it comes to a layoff. So first thing, and I call that the first 5. Who are the first 5 people you would reach out to tell about your layoff? And make that list. Physically write it down on a piece of paper. Write their names down, or put it in a spreadsheet, or put it in a note online. Do whatever it is, put it in there. And then I want you to figure out how to get back in touch with them. And I want you to send them a note that says, hey, just wanted to let you know, my last day, like I just said, my last day at my old company is this day. I'm going to be looking for a new role. I just want to let you know, we're probably going to be asking for your advice or your guidance. At that point, that's all you're saying, right? You're not going to say like, hey, I need a new job. What do you need? What do you know of? Because that puts a lot of pressure on them. Right now, you're just asking for advice and guidance. A lot of people are going to be more than willing to help give you advice and guidance. And so once you've done that with the first 5, I want you to have the conversations with those people. So again, this goes back to all my sort of networking process, my networking step-by-step, which is to, reach out to people you know. Okay, these first 5 were obviously people you already know. Have a voice-to-voice conversation with them, actually talk to them on the phone or by video call. Ask them how they are, right? I mean, we know this is about you, and we know that you reached out and you're the one who's looking for a job, but see what they've been working on, see what they've been up to, be interested in what they're doing. Because who knows, they might be doing something that's interesting for you for your next role. So be interested in them and actually think of ways that you can help them out. What ideas or suggestions do you have for them? Now, this next step, be easy to help, is where you're going to really need to do some work from a layoff perspective. So after you've come up with your first 5, the next thing I really want you to focus on doing is creating your target company list. And this is something I always talk about with networking, is having a target company or a target client or target customer or something that is a list of places or people you would like to learn more about. So a list of companies you'd be interested in working at that you'd like to learn more about. Or if it's a list of sort of customers, the types of people that you want to work with. Again, we're probably talking more about companies because we're talking about layoffs here, and you're probably looking for a job. So we're going to focus on companies. So what are the companies that you'd really like to work for? And this can take a little bit of time, but remember, the action you're going to be taking here is going to kind of get your mind off the layoffs. So while you're doing all the other things, right, like waiting for these first 5 people to get back to you and schedule time, start creating this target company list. And I've talked about the target company list in a lot of places. This is something most people don't do, but it's something that's really going to help you, because you're going to start thinking about where it is you want to work. And maybe it's in the same industry, and maybe it's a competitor of the place you worked at before. Maybe it's in another part of the industry. Maybe it's in a totally different industry because you do, something like finance or accounting or HR or IT, and you could do it anywhere. And you want to go work in a different industry because you want to do something different. Start listing names of companies, and you can kind of do this a few different ways. I mean, you could think of the ones you already know. You can go to LinkedIn and search for companies in certain industries. You can search online for them. One cool or interesting thing to do is whatever city you live in, if it's a big city, they probably have some list of best places to work. And so you can put like a list of best places to work 2024 in Denver, right? And I probably will get lots of websites with lots of names of companies. And you just go through that and you look at those companies and say, that's a cool company, it's interesting. So that's another thing. Another way to come up with this list is to look at the companies where your existing connections work. So you can do this by going into LinkedIn and getting your first degree connections and looking at those and kind of going through and seeing where do those people work. So you probably want to filter on your city or your area, wherever you live. If you're looking to stay somewhere local, it might be kind of hard to do this for remote opportunities, but you could say like, at my first degree connections in Denver, I could start to, see where they're all working and scroll through that and start to find other companies. And the bonus with that is if you find a company you're interested in and you already have a first degree connection, it's somebody you could reach out to. So this exercise of coming up with a target company list is something that's really going to be useful to you down the road, and is also going to start you thinking about new people or people you already know that you could reconnect with and get back in touch with. Okay, so the first 5, you're going to do that. Then you're going to come up with your target company list, right? And then you're going to really start trying to participate online. And I would recommend on LinkedIn in most cases, where you're going to start you're going to update your profile. I'm not going to get into whether you should put on open to work on your profile or not. There's different people with different points of view on that, so I'll leave that to other people. But make sure your profile's up to date. Again, there's lots of people online who can help you do that, lots of advice from other people. A few things I would say: make sure you've got an up-to-date photo, make sure you've got a good strong headline which tells exactly what you do, not just your job title, but like who are the people you help, or what is the kind of company you work for, what's the kind of role you do. Update your headline, get all your experience updated, get your about updated, all this stuff. But then really get in there and start to find people who are having interesting conversations around the work you do. And as you get online there and you start to see people saying interesting things, leave comments. Start to put yourself in the comments, start to engage with them. I would pick people who are actually, producing content pretty regularly, who are also responding to comments, because they'll be online. If you go to a company's page on LinkedIn, you certainly can follow those pages and you can interact with their posts. Some social media manager is probably responding. It's not going to be the hiring manager you're looking for. So, you can take your target company list if you've created it and then start searching for people who work at those companies and seeing who's posting on LinkedIn. And then once you do that, you're commenting on their posts, you're trying to add value to their posts. They're going to start to see your name, and potentially you could get to a conversation to ask them, what's it like to work at your company? Again, you can say it in a way that's not putting them on a hook for putting you together with a recruiter, but just opens the door. So you can say, hey, I'm really interested in your company. It's one of my target list companies. Be interested in connecting. Let me know, if you'd ever be open to a conversation. And then you can kind of go from there. So those are 3 things that you can do right away. If you are laid off, there are things that will give you something to do, something to take action to maybe reduce your anxiety. These are all things you are probably going to be doing in addition to your updating your resume, getting your LinkedIn profile up to date, getting all your sort of job strategy put together. I do want to make one plug for this, and this is something I posted this week on LinkedIn, so I'll share the link in the newsletter. I had an individual who, and I'm not going to put her name here because I don't know if she wants me to say her name on this video, but somebody who's actually looking for a job, and she created a whole job search tracker, right? And so I'll link to this post in my, I'll link to her post in my newsletter, but she created this whole job search tracker for herself because she got laid off and she's looking for a new role, and she started building this thing in Google Sheets so she could track all her activity. And it's really slick. It's really cool. She's giving it away to people to help people out. But something that was really interesting about this is she is in the learning and design world. So she's into creating content and training and learning strategies and stuff. And basically, like, this product demonstrates what her abilities are in a role that she's looking for. So if you're, and I had a separate conversation with another person this week who is looking to get into compensation, which is something I did. So it's something that she asked my advice for career advice. And she said, I'm going around and I'm talking to all the compensation leaders I can get in touch with to ask them for their career advice. And which is great strategy, because she wasn't saying, can you get me a job or anything like that? She's like, tell me about getting a career in compensation. And so I, of course, was happy to talk to her. She said she was talking to a lot of other people. I was like, well, that's interesting. Are you collecting what everybody's saying, like all their advice? And she's like, well, I have it. And I said, when you get through the 10 people you're talking to, or 20 people, create a guide that says, I talked to 20 compensation executives about getting a job in compensation, and here's what I learned. And then send that to people, and then send that to the people who you interviewed, and they're gonna all see your initiative, your drive, your ambition. And so you can use that to share and create sort of, I would say, attention for yourself, or draw attention to yourself to say, this is what I did. I didn't just auto apply to jobs every single day, but in my job search, I went out and I talked to people and I collected all, I created a guide. Now I'm sharing it with you. That stands out when people are thinking about hiring somebody, because it shows that they are taking the initiative to create something, and they're taking the initiative to help other people. So That's sort of a bonus activity. If you can think of something that people in your industry need or leaders would appreciate, or something that's going to catch attention to have people want to come talk to you so that, you could potentially get an interview at a new job. Come up with something like that if you can. If you can't, it's fine. But it's in the example of the person who is creating the job search tool, it highlights her abilities. In the example of the person who is putting together the information on what compensation leaders are looking for or what advice they would give, it highlights initiative. And so those sort of things are things you can't see on a resume. Those are sort of things that you can't sort of get online. But when people see those products, they go, ooh, that's somebody who's kind of going to stand out from the pack. So if you've got an idea like that, I would say think about how you could build that into your job search while you're doing all these other things. So again, this was mostly about getting laid off. But if you've listened this far, you can understand that even if you haven't gotten laid off, right? Even if you still have a job, these are all things you could be doing. These are all things that would help you that you could do even if you already have a job. But they're definitely things that if you've been laid off, you can jump in and start doing. It will give you actions and activities to pursue other than, again, clicking that easy apply button, which can sometimes seem frustrating. So hopefully that helps you out. I hope that's a useful guide. And if you have any other questions, be sure to leave them in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the newsletter, send me an email, let me know what you're struggling with. Remember, I'm here to help you be a better networker, to change the way you feel about it. So go out, meet some interesting people, and remember, always be connecting.